Welcome to Giant Ability TV.
Fellow Nigerians, I would like to start on a sad note. Even as we commiserate with the people and the government of Ondo State and the people of Owo Town in particular over the sudden passage into glory of the amiable executive governor of Ondo State, Mr. Rotimi Akeredolu, SAN, unto glory on Wednesday 27th of December, we pray God Almighty grants his wife and the children the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss. His death is instructive, as it reminds us of the incontrovertible truth that as positions are transient, so is life. We can buy positions with money, but no one can buy life or own it. The reality is that no matter how long or short we live, what matters is how impactful our life has been, and that is what makes all the difference. I would like to use this medium to call the attention of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to what is real and substantial, which also has to do with the purpose and plan of God for individuals as well as nations. It is with dismay and heavy hearts that Nigerians woke up on Monday, 25th December 2023, to the shocking and heart-wrenching news of what fits in for description as genocide carried out against the people of Plateau State by the Fulani terrorists, where no fewer than 150 people were murdered in cold blood on the eve of Christmas, and with more than 17 villages destroyed with impunity. This is adjudged the deadliest since 2018.
In Mangu local government alone, we buried at least 15 people so far. As at this morning, in Bokos local government, we are counting not less than 100 corpses. I'm here to take stock of that of Barkin-Ladi. Most of the communities affected in Barkin-Ladi share border with Bokos local government. And at the last count also, we have not less than 17 communities that were completely touched and brought down by these bandits and criminals. When people are dislocated from their villages and they have to run for shelter, now we are struggling to provide shelter for these people that have been displaced and dislocated from their communities. If they stay away from those communities for a sustained period of time, the terrorists would come in. As I'm talking to you today, in Urium local government, in Barkin-Ladi local government, schools have been occupied by these terrorists for almost a number of years now. We have not less than 64 communities that have been displaced, and the lands have been taken over by these marauding terrorists. So if this pattern continues, then you can see the trajectory, that at the end of the day is about pushing people out of the land, taking it over. And then we need, therefore, to be able to come up with a program. And I will be talking with Mr. President on this. We need to have someone the political will to give instructions to the security agencies that they must protect the territorial integrity of Nigeria and even the internal integrity of our land boundaries. There are ways of acquiring land, not through violence, and we must be able to resort to constitutionalism in dealing with these issues. People who want land on the plateau are free to approach communities and negotiate and settle in those communities. I don't think people will refuse, but where they resort to violence to take over those lands, you would be sure that this is a time bomb, because it will reach a point where the people will react, and then we're going to have a large-scale conflict.
It is important to make categorically clear to the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that the number of lives lost since you took over the mantle of leadership as President on May 29 to date has placed your regime side by side with that of the former and bloodthirsty President Muhammadu Buhari, whose reign was, to say the least, that of terror and bloodshedding. It is becoming clear from the onset that both his and yours have the same template, and this is to say the least unfortunate. For rather than these events painting a picture that agree with the mantra of renewed hope, what is evidently clear is renewed woes. Let the man at the helm of affairs in Nigeria understand this very well, and for record purpose, that in the first place you did not win the presidential election of February 25th, 2023, and in other words, you hijacked power. It is painful also to note that apart from the former military head of state and civilian president, who is a Yoruba man in person of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, others that were eminently qualified more than you and by all standards in person of the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo and late MKO Abiola, aspire to sit on the seat and the office that you currently occupy but could not make it there. Not because you are any way better than them, but because that was how God proposed it for them. Regardless, the shoes that they left behind are too big for you to step into for many reasons, which also include the fact that you have many carryovers to clear off your record in order for you to even get close to their shoes. The state of the nation is such that Nigerians seem to have given up the fight for the simple fact that the states that should ordinarily belong to them have been captured and with the might of the armed forces in your control. Let this note of warning be sounded that just as we have all the key arms of government, such as the legislature, the judiciary, and all the security agencies in your pocket, so are you also in the pocket of the creator of the universe, the all-wise and the all-powerful. Recall that it was not the Pharaoh that enslaved the Israelites in Egypt that drowned in the Red Sea, and neither was he the one that gave Joseph the opportunity to rule and transform the country with the wisdom of God. The same God who allowed his children to be taken into captivity was the same God who captured the captors and made Pharaoh and his army drown into the Red Sea. There is always an opportunity for leaders to prove themselves and make a difference, and time is always of essence. Recall also that it was not in the mind of God that the children of Israel should have a monarchical system of government. But Saul, the first king of Israel, reigned under the permissive will of God. But when he failed to convert the permissive will of God to the perfect will of God, his reign ended abruptly and his life disastrously. David was not the first king, but became the first ideal king because he was a man after God's heart, who turned God's permissive will into his perfect will. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you are an opportunist who is reigning under the permissive will of God. Whether you will be able to turn it around and become an instrument or vassal of honor or dishonor is up to you. Don't forget that a man whom God cannot arrest has not been created. The incessant killings and the blood of the innocent Nigerians that are being shed on a daily basis, which people describe as reprehensible, dastardly, and barbaric, are connected directly to you, your office, and family. And don't forget that God is God of vengeance. If what is going on is not part of your plan and your administration is totally averse to it, you have what it takes to take decisive actions before it is too late. You cannot afford to be like your predecessor, whose reign was characterized by the unprecedented level of loss of lives of innocent Nigerians by the Fulani terrorists, some of whom he released from the Kuje prison towards the end of his administration. Your ordering for the arrest of the terrorists, bandits, and criminals after the deed has been done is unacceptable by God, your creator. Senator Oluremi Tinubu, your amiable wife and the First Lady, was seen by Nigerians as a contrast to the Muslim ticket that brought you into power. But whether she now has what it takes to replicate the biblical Esther at this crucial moment of history of Nigeria is a question that only she can answer. Where the people that you are responsible to are helpless, and who ordinarily should be your employers are now your servants, only God will judge. One thing that Nigerians are expecting of you to do is to change the narrative of the Fulani-controlled leadership in the Nigerian landscape by a major departure from the demonic norm characterized by the lack of fear of God for the sake of posterity. Restructuring of the country is a sure way to peace, and if that is impracticable, let the major tribes in Nigeria go their ways for peace to reign. Don't waste your time trying to control the uncontrollable or trying to solve the unsolvable, or thinking about what could have been. Instead, think about what can be if you wisely control what you can control and solve the problems you can solve with the wisdom you have gained from both your victories and defeats in the past. David Mahoney.
What God will ask people who He changed their lives in the Bible is He will ask them, what do you see? As far as you can see, I will give to you. So this is what this Christmas message is all about. And to remind them about the sacrificial death of Christ and how the love of Christ has made Him to lay His life down for mankind. And that is what we have to do as a nation. Continue to make the necessary sacrifice, and then for a lot of people to benefit.
The best way to contentment is the realization that life is a gift and not a right, and wisdom demands that we tread carefully, because kings, they say, have long arms but misfortune longer. So let none think themselves out of reach. General Yakubu Gowon retired, an elder statesman, the father of the nation Nigeria, and a complete gentleman blessed by God with good health and long life, does not, by human thinking and calculations, deserve what the country is paying him back with today. Wikipedia further reveals that Yakubu Gowon, GCFR, born 19 October 1934, is a retired Nigerian army general and military leader. As head of state of Nigeria, Gowon presided over a controversial Nigerian civil war and delivered the famous "No Victor, No Vanquish" speech at the war's end to promote healing and reconciliation. An Anglican Christian from a minority Ingas family of northern Nigeria, Gowon is a Nigerian nationalist and a believer in unity and oneness of Nigeria. Gowon's rise to power followed the July 1966 counter-coup and cemented military rule in Nigeria. Consequently, Gowon served for the longest continuous period as head of state of Nigeria, ruling for almost 9 years until his overthrow in a coup d'etat of 1975 by Brigadier Murtala Muhammad. This God-fearing general, whose life has been invested fully into the cause of uniting the country, Nigeria, is a true reflection of what the difference between contribution and commitment is. And in relation to the example of the eggs and the bacon, the chicken makes the contribution, while the pig makes the commitment. As a statesman, General Yakubu Gowon, retired, has committed enormously to the unity of Nigeria, and his name, Gowon, also depicts his commitment. The name Gowon is literally translated as "Go on with one Nigeria."
The so-called rising sun of Biafra is set forever. It will be a great disservice for anyone to continue to use the word Biafra to refer to any part of the East Central State of Nigeria. The tragic chapter of violence is just ended. We are at the dawn of national reconciliation. Once again, we have an opportunity to build a new nation. You will have heard that my government may seek the assistance of friendly foreign governments and bodies, especially in the provision of equipment to supplement our national effort. There are, however, a number of foreign governments and organizations whose so-called assistance will not be welcome. These are the governments and organizations which sustained the rebellion. They are thus guilty of the blood of thousands who perished because of the prolongation of the futile resistance. They did not act out of love for humanity. Their purpose was to disintegrate Nigeria and Africa and impose their will on us.
Joy and happiness are believed to be the food and energy of the age. Unfortunately, with how the leadership in Nigeria, especially since the beginning of the reign of the APC government in 2015, under the watch of the former President Muhammadu Buhari, a northern Fulani Muslim has turned Plateau State, the state of the general, into the Golgotha of carnage. It won't be out of place to say that the attitude of Nigerians is far from being that of gratitude and appreciation to General Yakubu Gowon, retired, And this, to a right-thinking person, may be a reason for him to renege on his determination and commitment to the cause of seeing the country remain as one and making it expedient for him to have a change of name by being born again. Of what use is the commitment to the unity of a country that is in every sense of it an ingrate? A wise man admonishes that leaders should think less about what they ought to do and more about what they ought to be. For if only their living were good, their work would shine forth brightly. Furthermore, Nigerian elders this time, the case is not with the politicians, but those who are the beneficiaries, that is, our highly revered traditional rulers or Obas. It is becoming habitual these days how chieftaincy titles are conferred on corrupt politicians by our traditional leaders, especially those in the southwest. Recall how sometime in June 2022, the Olubadan of Ibadan land, Oba Lekan Balogun, confirmed honorary chieftaincy titles on the former Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje and his wife Professor Afsat Ganduje as Are Fiwajoye of Ibadan land and Yeye Are Fiwajoye of Ibadan land, respectively. You may wish to know that Ganduje, the former governor of Kano State, is now the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress Party (APC), the ruling party in the last 8-year tenure of the former president Muhammadu Buhari, who bankrupted Nigeria with the unprecedented height of terror unleashed on Nigerians, with thousands of innocent lives taken by terrorists and bandits with impunity. The latest is the conferment of chieftaincy title on the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasiru El-Rufai, who was on Saturday, 16 December, installed as the Gbobaniyi of Ijebuland by the Awujale of Ijebuland, Oba Sikiru Adetono. Our elders should know, and I believe they know better, that friendship should be about what is in it and not what to get out of it. If that be the case, suffice to take this admonition that suggests that we ought to defer our liking of those with whom we converse till we have taken some notice of the disposition of their minds. Otherwise, the beauty of their person, the charms of their wit, may make us fond of those whom our reason or judgment will tell us we ought to abhor. George Shelley. Recall that El-Rufai was nominated by Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a minister, but could not be confirmed by the Senate for security reasons. That was aside from the allegations of fraud of billions of naira while in office as the governor of Kaduna State. This was the man who first introduced the Muslim ticket while he was in Kaduna as governor, a state where the southern Kaduna indigents who are Christians have been marginalized and were victims of terrorism and banditry under his watch. El-Rufai is a man with a questionable character, and conferring him with a chieftaincy title is, to say the least, grooming another evil genius, and a leader who will be a sympathizer with the terrorists who have the Fulani ethnic cleansing as their agenda. On a final note, the problem with our leaders and the so-called elites is that they have compromised their conscience and have given themselves up for a morsel of bread. The wise thing to do if Nigeria will be a better place to live in peace and unity, is for every one of us to integrate what we believe in every single area of our lives, to take our hearts to work and ask the most and best of everybody else too. We should not let our special character and values, the secrets that you know and no one else does, the truth, don't let that get swallowed up by the great chewing complacency. Nigeria is in dire straits and on the brink of collapse. All hands must be put on deck to salvage the country. However, the saying that Nigeria's unity is non-negotiable is a big lie, for there is nothing like peace and unity without justice. As we are committed to feeding you with positive ideas that can awaken the giant in you, deem it fit also to reciprocate by sharing this video, for one good turn deserves another. Happy New Year to you all, wishing you God's blessings and mercies in the year 2024. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you for watching.